Welcome to Trinity Online. My name is Bex, and before the band kicks things off, I've got one thing for those with kids up to grade 5. Every month, the Trinity Kids team puts a box together that has all kinds of physical games and activities that makes the Trinity Kids experience come alive. The box is fun, simple, kid-driven, family-friendly approach to growing up the faith of kids in your home. So if you've got kids and haven't subscribed yet, you are missing out. It's free and easy. Just go to the website under Next Steps to sign up. Click on Trinity Kids and follow the prompts. There's even boxes for families that live outside of Kelowna. And if you sign up before December 1st, I hear the kids team is throwing a little something special in for parents, so don't miss out. We are so excited about the service we are about to experience. The first song reminds us of who is in control when everything feels out of control. Based on Psalm 24, where it says, "Who is the glorious King? The eternal, who is powerful and mightily equipped for battle. City gates open wide, ancient doors stand back, for the glorious King shall soon pass your way." Who is the glorious King? The eternal commander of heaven's army. He is the glorious King.
To hear, it's the sound of the Savior's robe as he walks into the room where people pray, where we hear praises he hears. Sing his praise aloud. Sing his praise aloud. Oh, awaken my soul and sing. Sing his praise aloud. Sing his praise aloud. The sound of his people on their knees. Oh, wake up, you slumbering. It's time to worship him. Awake my soul and sing. Sing his praise aloud. Sing his praise aloud. Oh, wake my soul and sing. Sing his praise aloud. Sing his praise aloud. And when he moves, and when we pray, we're stood a wall that was sent away, where every promise is amen. And when he moves, make no mistake, the bowels of hell begin to shake. All hail the Lord, all hail the King. Oh, hey, oh, let the King of glory enter in. Hey, oh, fall down on your knees and worship him. Hey, oh, let his praise rise up, don't hold it in. Wake my soul and sing. Sing his praise aloud. Sing his praise aloud. Oh, wake my soul and sing. Sing his praise aloud. sing his praise aloud.
Well, the countdown to Christmas has officially begun, as this weekend marks the beginning of Advent. Now, you can find Advent calendars filled with pretty much anything these days: perfume, cookies, Lego, cheese, toys, and yes, the favorite, chocolate. Each day of December, you crack open the cardboard box to see what's inside. But Advent didn't start that way. The Advent wreath first appeared in Germany in 1839. A Lutheran minister working at a mission for children created a wreath out of a wheel of a cart, and he placed 20 small red candles and 4 large white candles in the inside of the ring. And the red candles were lit on weekdays, and the 4 white candles were lit on Sundays. It was a way to help the kids count down the days until Christmas. Yet the roots of Advent celebration go farther back than 19th century Germany, straight into the formative Western Christian tradition, eventually making its way through the centuries to be symbolized in candles, 4 of them. One lit the 4 Sundays before Christmas. Why? Well, it's hinted at in the word Advent. Its definition stems from the Latin word adventus, meaning appearance, arrival, something is coming. Like a little kid waking up each morning hoping to find another chocolate in the calendar. The first candle of Advent symbolizes hope and is sometimes called the prophet's candle. It's reenacting the centuries' anticipation of the birth of Jesus as written about by prophets like Isaiah in the Old Testament. It is an invitation to set your mind off the now, the stresses of 2020, this particular moment of time, to find something new, a bit of beauty each day during the season, and focus our thoughts on what is coming, the day we celebrate the gift God gave us in his son, Jesus, who stepped down from heaven and took the form of a man so that I might believe. Isaiah 61, 1 and 2 says it this way: "The Spirit of the sovereign Lord is upon me, for the Lord has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to comfort the brokenhearted and to proclaim that captives will be released and prisoners will be freed." Today, at the beginning of this Advent season, take a courageous step toward hope in the person of Jesus. Be reminded he came with power to help you overcome your past, to create a new future with you, and embody the eternal hope the prophets of old longed for, so that people like you and me can know Jesus as our living hope today.
How great the chasm that lay between us, how high the mountain I could not climb. In desperation, I turned to heaven and spoke your name into the night. Then through the darkness, your loving kindness tore through the shadows of my soul. The work is finished, the end is written. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Who could imagine so great a mercy? What heart could fathom such boundless grace? The God of ages stepped down from glory to wear my sin and bear my shame. The cross has spoken, I am forgiven. The King of Kings calls me his own. Beautiful Savior, I'm yours forever. Jesus Christ, my living hope. And hallelujah, praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah, death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name, Jesus Christ, my living hope. Hallelujah, praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah, death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name, Jesus Christ, my living hope. Oh, my living hope. Then came the morning that sealed the promise. Your buried body, it began to breathe, and out of the silence, the roaring lion declared the grave has no claim on me. Then came the morning that sealed the promise. Oh, your buried body, it began to breathe. Out of the silence, the roaring lion declared the grave has no claim on me. Yes, Jesus, yours, it's the victory. Yes, and yours alone. Oh, hallelujah, praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah, death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name, Jesus Christ, my living hope. Hallelujah, hallelujah, praise the one who set me free. Hallelujah, death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name, Jesus Christ, my living hope. Jesus Christ, my living hope. God, you are my living hope.
Would you pray with me? God, we listen to the lyrics of that song and we discover new today of what Advent can mean for us when we consider hope. When we think of how hope might change our perspective this season and change our hearts, to discover that in the middle of anxiety, in the middle of fear, in the middle of changing our expectations, we can discover hope. And thanks that you offer hope each and every day. We pray this in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Hey, we are so glad that we have an opportunity right now to kind of let you in on a few things that are happening in our community. The first is we will be virtually hosting the 2020 annual general meeting for Trinity Church here on December 1st at 6:30 p.m. We love celebrating all that God is doing through Trinity, and I encourage you to join us as we take a look back and dream forward together. Members who would like to attend must pre-register, and you can do that right now by heading to our website or app and following the links to be with us on December 1st. And for those members interested in a deeper dive or you have questions regarding our financial statements, we want to do our best to provide the information you need. Send an email to Wendy Purser at trinitykelowna.ca with the subject line, Finance Meeting. When you do that, we will follow up with information for an informal pre-AGM conversation with representatives from our financial team, accounting firm, and elder board to answer any of those questions you might have. And hey, if you're sitting there and you aren't a member, why don't you sign up today? You can join a like-minded community of Christ followers who are passionate about speaking into the vision, purpose, direction, and practices unique to Trinity Church. And membership affirms your active participation and contribution to advancing God's purposes through our church together. So go to the links on our website and sign up today. Okay. I have been, and almost all of our staff have been, getting your texts and emails and distant shout outs at Superstore. What's happening for Christmas at Trinity? Well, everything you need to know is finally right here. We are kicking this season off with a little something we're calling the 12 Days of Merry and Bright. Starting on December 13th, each day we will post a new opportunity to experience the beauty, wonder, and joy of Christmas right at home. Like day 3, eggnog thy neighbor. No, that does not mean eggnogging the front door of your neighbor's house, especially for you middle school boys. It's sharing a little merry and bright by dropping off a small gift to a neighbor. Could be homemade cookies or ornament for the tree. It's going to be fantastic. Or like nominate a dude for shepherd's shear on day 7. Is there a dad, grandpa, uncle, basically any dude you know that is in desperate need of a makeover story? I know like 6. Losing the mustache or beard, or maybe the 80s haircut is just time, right? Take a pic of them and get them nominated for our cut and shave. And then you can take them from Duck Dynasty to Ryan Gosling. Okay, fine. It's just a haircut, not a Christmas miracle. You know that. And if you love that, we have so much planned for every member of your family, from a snowman building contest, an elf on the loose, even a little TLC for our friends at KGH. Every day of the 12 Days of Merry and Bright is intended to bring a little light to our community and celebrate this season in creative ways. You can actually join one day or join them all. But whatever you do, make sure to follow all of our shenanigans on social media and our website. The 12 Days of Merry and Bright starts Sunday, December 13th, leading all the way to December 24th. And speaking of December 4th, that's right, Christmas at Trinity is still happening on that date. It will be live at 5 on the evening of December 24th. Coming to you up close and personal, right in your living room at 5 o'clock Christmas Eve. So you need to start planning how you're gonna watch. Dress up, dress down, throw a party with your family, or have it small and intimate. It's totally up to you. And the best part this year, the parking lot is not an issue. Thank you, Bonnie Henry. There's a little Christmas present right there. How you experience December 24th is totally up to you, but be intentional about it. And just for a little extra cinnamon on your latte, if you know what I'm talking about, this year, you'll be able to watch digitally with family and friends from all over the world through Facebook Watch Party or Google Hangouts. More info on that in the weeks to come. Yes, it's going to be different this year, but with your creativity and intentionality, it could just be the best Christmas ever. And hey, we want to help you in this Christmas season by providing each day of December an opportunity for you to study Advent in a deeper way. Head to our website where we're going to have a devotional uploaded every single day for you to follow along and understand God in a deeper way in this Advent season. Okay, that's it on Christmas for now. Let's go to Wayne as we begin Deliverance Part 1 in our next chapter of the story.
Years ago, while working in the marketplace, I completed an executive program at Boston University's Leadership Institute. My company was investing in my professional development, probably more for their future financial earnings than for mine. Anyway, one of the required reads before attending the course was the book, The Art of the Long View by Peter Schwartz. This book was about scenario planning, how to imagine possible scenarios in your industry. Things like unexpected catastrophes, unprecedented paradigm shifts, or wide open spaces of opportunity. Once the scenario was defined, we would explore possible solutions, develop strategic plans, and timelines. What we discovered repeatedly, there is significant power in certain moments. Trigger points when a choice must be made, a decision rendered, a leap of faith required, because the long-term impact, while still not fully known, could be huge. Not all moments are created equal. Some moments are extremely defining. Ask any couple at the altar saying, "I do." In our text this weekend, we will look at 3 powerful moments when choices are made that have massive long-term impact. Choices made when the future was still unknown. And these moments, they will reveal much about the hearts of those who acted and their love for God and His great love for them. You think about our current reality, the choices we are making every day, the future we are trying to imagine, yet it seems so foggy, just beyond reach. I believe God can speak through His word in a fresh, life-giving way right now that can help each of us make the best decisions for His best preferred future for our lives. So grab your copy of the story. We are beginning chapter 4. It's on page 43. This chapter has a strong title, Deliverance. What this means will become clearer as we go. Hey, worth noting, as we begin chapter 4, we are headed into the second book of the Bible, Exodus. Exodus is of Greek origin. It means to exit or depart. Language is used right off the top by the author to help us see one continuing narrative from Genesis into Exodus. Actually, the first 5 books of the Bible, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, they are closely woven together as one in the Hebrew scriptures, known as the Torah. Biblical scholars, they claim that Exodus forms the heart of the Torah. Exodus contains some of the richest foundational theology of all the books in the Old Testament. It lays the groundwork for understanding who God is, His redemption, His law, His worship. Hey, Exodus, it introduces us to the role of the prophet, the institution of priesthood, and formalizes the covenant relationship between God and His people. God's name, His attributes, nature, and purpose are all spelled out for us in Exodus. Both deliverance and salvation are big themes in this book. Exodus also tells us how we should live. It lays the foundation for biblical ethics and morality. So that's where we are, moving seamlessly from Genesis into Exodus. Now, before I go further, question, where are you? I don't mean physically, like you're in a living room or your office, or geographically, you're joining us from Kelowna or South Korea. I mean, where are you on your spiritual journey? Are you at the beginning where you're interested, but you're really uncertain about what you believe? Maybe you're in the middle. You're rather stuck and confused. You think you missed an opportunity. Or maybe you're nearing the end of your journey. You're fatigued. You're wondering, can I still add value? Well, as we look at these 3 defining moments and the choices made, one big truth surfaces. There is always hope. Even when things seem hopeless, even when the future is uncertain, even when there appears to be no way forward, even when you are not sure you can do it. With the God of the story, there is always hope for your story. Let me say that again. With the God of the story, there is always hope for your story. We will see this play out in the pages before us. 3 powerful, informative scenes. When an evil edict is executed, a mother acts and a baby is saved, who eventually will bring hope. When a favored prince commits murder and runs, he is humbled, called, and given a second chance. When there seems to be no end in sight of oppressive bondage, a sacrificed lamb will point to a freedom beyond measure, a living hope, deliverance. You see, with the God of the story, there is always hope for your story. Okay, let's look at our first scene, opening paragraph, top of page 43. Now Joseph and his brothers and all that generation died, but the Israelites were exceedingly fruitful. They multiplied greatly, increased in numbers, and became so numerous that the land was filled with them. Joseph, his brothers, and their generation, they died, but his descendants were still in Egypt. They had flourished and had multiplied greatly. That's a polite way of saying they had babies like crazy, even more numerous than the rabbits on Enterprise a few years ago. Time passes and a new king is now on the throne. He could give a rip about Joseph's contribution to Egypt. He needs these foreigners as an economic asset, but now he is more concerned about national security. He lays the hammer down, severe oppression, hard labor. But even that couldn't stop the spread of these Israelites. A more desperate measure is required. Flip over top of page 44. Then Pharaoh gave this order to all his people. Every Hebrew boy that is born you must throw into the Nile, but let every girl live. A horrific, evil edict. Kill the Hebrew baby boys across the nation. Stop the purpose and blessing of God. You know, centuries later, an incensed, jealous Herod will order the death of all boys aged 2 and under in the small town of Bethlehem to stop the purpose and blessing of God again, the arrival of Jesus. All hope seems lost, or is it just beginning to dawn? So an unknown and unnamed man and woman give birth to a fine son. Maybe they're describing his physical appearance or the qualities of his heart. He was not the firstborn. His brother Aaron was 3 years older and his sister Miriam was a young girl already. Both will surface. Well, the mother, she hides him for as long as possible. And when she no longer can, she actually gets a basket. She prepares it. She coats it and she places him in this basket and pushes him towards the reeds in the Nile River. Notice throughout this her courageous intentionality, her diligent use of means, and a deep trust in providence. Each action revealing love and hope for deliverance. Well, Pharaoh's daughter is bathing nearby. A discovery is made with the baby. The baby's sister is watching, and eventually the mother is called upon to nurse and raise the child. Even more, the parents were given the opportunity of 12 years to teach little Moses about the God of his fathers. Eventually, around 12, he was presented back to Pharaoh. Moses, the one drawn out of water, would now mature in the courts and customs of the Egyptian empire. Now, some might say, interesting story, a lot of coincidence, all happened by chance. Others would hear this story and realize God was at work, seeing, acting, intervening, saving, rescuing, unfolding his greater narrative, one moment at a time. Now, pause with me. Think about this mother. We discover later in the scriptures that her name was Jochebed. Place yourself in that moment, holding your 3-month-old son, laying him in the basket and gently guiding it into the river reeds and then walking home. What you do in the moment reveals much about the depth of your hope in God. Church, these are very difficult days. Each of us face moments of fear about the future, about our kids, about aging parents, our own health. This mom, she reminds me to do all that I can do and place my ultimate hope in God. Psalm 46 says, God is our refuge and strength, always ready to help in times of trouble. Therefore, we will not fear when earthquakes come and the mountains crumble into the sea. When you feel like all hope is lost, remember, God is at work. There is always hope. You know, one of the things I love about the scriptures, it unpacks the lower story of mankind with a raw and a rugged transparency. Doesn't hold back any punches. That is so true in our story, as it takes a surprising twist that, quite frankly, doesn't look good. Page 44, a third of the way down. Follow along as I read. One day after Moses had grown up, he went out to where his own people were and watched them at their hard labor. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his own people. Looking this way and that and seeing no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. Moses, he's now in his early 40s. He knows about his Hebrew ancestry thanks to his parents. Yet regardless of how justified Moses felt when he saw one of his own being beaten, he acted in a rash, violent manner and committed murder, and he knew it. The reference that he looked both ways and that he hid the dead Egyptian in the sand reveals his guilt. Well, word spread, and soon he was being one of the most wanted in all of Egypt. He must run. And this mistake will cost him 40 more years of further education. He flees to Midian. Ironically, he runs smack into another scene of injustice. This time, 7 women who are being harassed and chased away from watering their flocks by unscrupulous shepherds. Moses, he protects and cares for those women. Well, he's given a home. He marries. He has kids. The years slowly pass. Eventually, the king of Egypt dies. Important to remember right here about the character of God. Look at the middle of page 45. During that long period, the king of Egypt died. The Israelites groaned in their slavery and cried out. And their cry for help because of their slavery went up to God. God heard their groaning, and he remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. So God looked on the Israelites and was concerned about them. Hey, don't miss that. God heard, remembered, looked, and was concerned. The New Living Translation of that particular text, it ends with, and God knew it was time to act. Hey, he always does. And he's always on time, never late, never early. We see this over and over. The covenant-making God, the covenant-keeping God. Well, what happens next for those perhaps less familiar with the Bible is a huge moment. The upper story and lower story will once again intersect. We will learn something significant about God that will influence how we approach him. We will also see how God calls us into his story. It begins in a captivating way. After 40 years as a shepherd in the mountains of Midian, Moses notices something most peculiar, and he goes to investigate. A burning bush that is not being consumed by the flames. Now, just to stop here for a moment. A note on the miraculous in the Bible. Miracles are not circus sideshows intended to entertain. They are used to give God glory and to accredit his messengers. Well, let's look at what happens. Bottom of page 45. When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush, Moses, Moses. And Moses said, Here I am. Do not come any closer, God said. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. Take off your sandals, for the place you are standing is holy ground. You see, because of God's holy presence and power, what had been ordinary ground and a typical bush became holy and set apart for a distinct use. Moses is humbled in this moment. He is undone and is now ready to hear. You know, it's interesting to note that Moses was active with one task, shepherding, when he was called to another. And this could happen to you. It happened to me. Notice again the statements from God. Top of page 46. Don't miss what these statements say about God. I have indeed seen the misery of my people. I have heard them crying out. I am concerned about their sufferings. I have come down to rescue them. Oh, and there's one more clear, unmistakable statement from God right at the bottom. So now go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. What? Are you kidding me? That will certainly get your attention. Hey, I'm talking to you. Now go. I'm sending you. Take the time to read this yourself and look at the longer version in the Bible, Exodus 3, right to chapter 4, verse 17. Moses counters with a number of excuses, reasons for him to say, God, I am not your guy. Please find someone else. Ever said that? You had a sense, an inkling, a holy nudge. God was calling you, urging you, opening a door for you. And you said, nope, not your guy, not your girl. You probably have, if you can relate to any of Moses' excuses. I will just touch them quickly. He begins with, who am I that I should go? He's uncertain of his identity. What is your name? He asks next. If they ask, he's unclear of who is initiating this. What if they don't listen? Well, now he's insecure about authority. What about my fear of public speaking? He's wrestling with perceived inability. Or when he says, please pick someone else, he's avoiding opportunity, choosing a lesser dream. You know, it's incredible to me that God patiently answers each of these questions. Although you get a sense God is a little steamed by the end. There is a key moment in all of this back and forth when for the very first time in the story, God reveals his name. I am who I am. Hey, this is not bad grammar. This is not an evasion. This is not a reluctance to reveal himself. No, this is a declaration. J.I. Packer, in his classic book, Knowing God, he writes this about the translation. I am truly he who exists and who will be dynamically present then and there in the situation to which I am sending you. I am the God who was, who is, and who always will be. I am here. I am with you. I go before you. Okay, again, let's pause. Here in this defining moment with Moses, just imagine if he had not shown interest in that burning bush. Imagine if he had proudly refused to take off his sandals. Imagine if God had not patiently given him room to ask his questions. Imagine if God hadn't given him a second chance to embrace the whole new future in front of him. You see, when you think you're disqualified or don't think you can do what God wants, remember, God is with you. There is always hope. Hey, someone may need to hear this right now. Your failure doesn't define you. The God of the second chance does. Now, you will need to take your shoes off. You're going to need to humble yourself. Peter, who failed miserably and was fully restored, he writes this, God opposes the proud, but favors the humble. So humble yourselves under the mighty power of God, and at the right time, he will lift you up in honor. You see, what you do in the moment reveals much about the strength of your faith in God. Moses, now humbled, he believes and he embraces a greater vision for his life. Okay, one more scene, and it's another beauty. filled with tension and with promise and a remarkable escape. And this moment in history is pointing towards a figure who will be nailed to a cross on a hill just outside of Jerusalem, whose blood flowing down a rugged wooden cross, like blood sprinkled and dripping from a door frame, will provide rescue and freedom to all who believe. But I'm jumping too far ahead. Let's come back to this text. Moses and Aaron, they head back to Egypt. God makes it clear what they are to say and what he will do. Look at the middle of page 48. Therefore say to the Israelites, I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from under the yoke of the Egyptians. I will free you from being slaves to them, and I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and with mighty acts of judgment. I will take you as my own people, and I will be your God. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God, who brought you out from under the yoke of the Egyptians. And I will bring you to the land I swore with uplifted hand to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. I will give it to you as a possession. I am the Lord. I am. I will bring you out. I will free you. I will redeem you. I will take you as my own. I will be your God. Hey, these are clear, unwavering, unmistakable promises from a God who makes and keeps his promises. You know, earlier this week, I received an email from a member in our church, and she was so struggling with the fact we couldn't meet together and shared a great passage of scripture, but I could tell she was struggling. In my reply back to her, I simply started to recount a number of promises that are true, that God is sovereign, that God is in control, that Jesus is still head of the church, that the church will prevail, that we stand on the unwavering foundation of God's word, that we know for certain the future is bright because God is shaping it. Do you need to hear this today? Do you need to know that God is present and with you and helping right now? Well, back to our story. How this happens, well, that is a fascinating story. Moses and Aaron, they deliver the news. Pharaoh's not happy and he ignores it. Moses and Aaron, again, they perform a few miracles to prove they have God's authority and power. The magicians of the courts, they do the same thing. And the stakes continue to climb. Eventually, 9 plagues unfold, exhibiting a clear and unified structure. They are arranged in 3 groups of 3 plagues. 3 sets of triplets in ascending order of severity, from irritations to destruction to death. But now comes the moment, the turning point, known as the Passover. And we need to look at this and read it in its full account. Follow now with me, the bottom of page 50. Now the Lord had said to Moses, I will bring 1 more plague on Pharaoh and on Egypt. After that, he will let you go from here. And when he does, he will drive you out completely. So Moses said, this is what the Lord says. About midnight, I will go throughout Egypt. Every firstborn son in Egypt will die. From the firstborn son of Pharaoh, who sits on the throne, to the firstborn son of the female slave, who is at her handmill, and all the firstborn of the cattle as well. There will be loud wailing throughout Egypt, worse than there ever has been or ever will be again. But among the Israelites, not a dog will bark at any person or animal. Then you will know that the Lord makes a distinction between Egypt and Israel. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in Egypt, this month is to be for you the first month of your year. Tell the whole community of Israel that on the 10th day of this month, each man is to take a lamb for his family, 1 for each household. The animals you choose must be year-old males without defect, and you may take them from the sheep or the goats. Take care of them until the 14th day of the month, when all the members of the community of Israel must slaughter them at twilight. Then they are to take some of the blood and put it on the sides and the tops of the door frames of the houses where they eat the lambs. That same night, they are to eat the meat roasted over the fire, along with bitter herbs and bread made without yeast. This is how you are to eat it. with your cloak tucked into your belt, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. Eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. On that same night, I will pass through Egypt and strike down every firstborn of both people and animals, and I will bring judgment on all the gods of Egypt. I am the Lord. The blood will be a sign for you on the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. See, unlike all of the other plagues, this time the Lord himself would march throughout the land of Egypt. Clear instructions are given about the preparation, the responsibility of the head of each household, the animal to be selected and when to be slaughtered, how and where the blood was to be applied, what they were to roast and eat, no leftovers, long robes tucked in, sandals on, staff ready in hand, a sense of expectancy, urgency. And the key phrase in all of it, when I see the blood, I will pass over you. Okay, stay with me here. Imagine the moment, you and your family following the directions very carefully. And now you're about to take the blood and apply it to the door frame of your house. And then you're going to go to bed trusting God that he will see that blood and will pass over you. You see, what you do in the moment reveals much about your willingness to trust in God. There are times in my own life when I have resisted or avoided obeying God. My heart's desire and resolve is to trust more. Quite clearly, I want to reach more often into this and apply the blood of Jesus Christ to my life that I might live more fully and devotedly to him. When you wonder, will I ever be set free? Remember, God has made a way. Jesus is our ultimate hope. You know, after that final plague, Pharaoh said, go, leave, now. And the Israelites, after some 400 years in Egypt, are on their way. The great deliverance has begun. You know, next weekend, we'll look at part 2 of chapter 4, pages 53 to 57. Yes, please read ahead. In a moment, spend some time thinking and talking about what you've just heard by answering the 3 questions that will come up on your screen. One final word. Without question, you will encounter defining moments this week. And the choices you make in those moments will reveal much about you and your relationship with God. May you enter into each moment humbly, yet confidently, because with the God of the story, there is always hope for your story.
Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop. Oh, even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, no, you never stop working. Oh, you never stop, oh. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Yes.
Hey, we're so thankful that you took time today to join us. No matter where you are on your spiritual journey, like if you're just exploring Jesus, trying to figure out who he is, or you've been a Jesus follower your entire life, I love that reminder of Waymaker and Wayne, that your story always has hope, that no matter the circumstance, there's always a pathway forward. I encourage you to take that step of courage today. And hey, we have some questions following the service that I encourage you, dig into them, explore them with your family, or call up a friend and go a little bit deeper in who God wants you to become. And hey, thanks for being with us. We'll see you next week.